everybody, welcome to another video. My name is Infiniti and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to add fringe to your crochet projects or your knitting projects, whichever you may do. I like adding fringe and I think a lot of people like the look of fringe. It's very, what do you call it, robust as a feature. So I know it can be something tricky for a lot of new crafters. So without further ado, I'm going to show you how I like to do it. So here I have my swatch from where I did the floret stitch, and what I like to do before adding fringe to any project is creating a nice even edge. So if I've crocheted something or knit something that doesn't have an even edge, what I like to do is create a single crochet border going around that project, or at least along the edges where I plan to do my fringe. So I'm going to do that. And in order to do so, what I do is I use the yarn that I worked the project with. Let's zoom in. I use the yarn that I worked the project with, and I find a corner, any corner will do, and I insert my crochet hook like so, and I just loop that new yarn onto that project. Now if you still have your yarn attached, it's perfectly okay to just go ahead and go around your project or go back and forth across it to create your little edge, but I'd already cut mine. So now I'm gonna chain one to secure that, and I'm just gonna go about single crocheting in each stitch along this edge. So I'll only be doing fringe on one edge here. And you can do this on the right side or the wrong side, it doesn't really matter as far as this part goes. Alright, and getting that last one there. Alright, I'm going to fasten off. Alright, and now that I've fastened off, you'll want to weave that end in. I just cut mine because this is a sample. Alright, so now I have my nice even edge, and as you can see I cut my yarn. You're going to want to weave yours in if you're making a finished product. But this is my little swatch here, and now I'm going to get this secondary color for a bit. And what I want you to note is a lot of people will like pull out a lot of yarn and they will lay it out flat, and they just know that the length of their fringe is going to be half of that yarn. So if you wanted to say lay out this much yarn and cut it, you'd be folding it in half to create these little loops. But what I do is I pull out that initial string. I just kind of eyeball it, and I match it up to where I just cut it off, and I cut up a bunch of very similar looking, similar length yarn strands. And the more yarn strands you have, the more full your fringe will look. And this is probably some really extreme fringe for a little swatch, but that's okay. But I'm going to do 3 strands here. And if you're planning on doing a big project with fringe, I recommend cutting out all your strings. Figure out how many strings you want per fringe and then cutting them all out so that they all come out pretty much equal length, and you don't have to do that much snipping at the end. Alright, for today's sample I'm going to be using 3 strands per fringe. Like I said, if you want a fuller look, you can use more strands. If you want less, use less. But what I'm going to do is fold those strands in half, like so, as though I were going to connect them to my project, because I am. And I'm going to insert my hook into one of those stitches, and I'm going to hook that yarn, pull it through just a little bit, pull up a nice size loop like this. And what we're going to do, you can either use your hook, you can use your fingers, or you're going to put your fingers or your hook through that loop, and you're going to grab that yarn and pull it through the loop, and then you're going to pull that close, and that creates our fringe. And it doesn't quite matter what side you do your fringe on. Some people like how this looks on this side, and some people like how this looks, but either way, it doesn't really matter. It all comes down to personal preference. So then we're going to do our second fringe here, and you can choose whatever interval you want to place these at. I'm just going to eyeball it and go right about here. Insert my hook into that single crochet right there. Okay, and then again I'm going to yarn over and pull that loop through that stitch, just like that. Pull up a big loop. Now again, you can use your fingers or you can use your hook. This time I'll use my hook and grab all of those loops and pull them through, just like a giant chain, except you're pulling it all the way through, and you just pull it tightly, and it never comes apart, shockingly enough. That's a question that a lot of people have when they do fringe. This stuff never comes apart, even though it connects so simply. And this is how you do fringe. I'm going to go ahead and cut out some more yarn, and I'm going to put a couple more fringes on these edges, and I'll meet you guys back when I do that. Alright, so now I am back. I have my crazy fringe completed along the edge of this project, and of course, depending on what project you made, you will want your fringe to be longer or shorter. For me, I would probably cut this to about like here, because it's such a small swatch. So I wasted a lot of yarn here, but it was worth it. Alright, and so now I have made my awesome, fantastic fringe. Of course, if your fringe is a little uneven, you can always go back and give it a little trim, and you should be good to go. I hope today's video was helpful for you all. If so, don't forget to leave me a thumbs up. Let me know how I did. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on future content. I typically post crochet videos on Sundays at 9:30 a.m. CST. If you want to support the channel, you can head on over, check out my website, sign up for that newsletter, because I'm constantly releasing new content for my community, and you can check me out on other social media. I'm on a bunch of different things, so I have a little something out there for everybody. And until next time, guys, happy making.